All right, good morning, good evening, good night, whatever time this message meets you. I trust that you and your family are well. I just wanted to follow up on a Facebook post that I did recently. It's concerning Easter and the question as to, or what I dealt with was how Easter was not biblical, right? The festival and the customs and so on. Well, for those of you who didn't see it, basically it was just pointing out that the things that relate to the celebration of Easter, it doesn't match with what the Bible describes, right? There's a serious issue where a issue of mathematics where according to prophecy, Messiah is supposed to be in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights, right? Obviously, if he was crucified on Good Friday and risen on what is called Easter Sunday, then there's the issue. That being said, I ended by asking, well, if Easter is not biblical, where did it come from? And that is what I want to address today. Now, I'll start with the name. The name Easter comes from, it is the Anglo-Saxon rendering of a host of other names that were used from ancient times. All right. Easter, as I said, is a late version, Anglo-Saxon in origin, but it is translated from Astarte, which is the Greek, and Ashtoreth, which is the one of the Moabite gods. That name is actually mentioned in scripture, Ashtoreth, and that comes from one of the ancient names, Ishtar, which is Sumerian, Babylonian moon goddess. All right. Now the festival itself, I say, it's an ancient one, and it's a spring festival that pays homage to a moon goddess. Now we are in 2022, and nobody should be allowed to. You shouldn't allow people to fool you in 2022. All this information is can be easily verified. You can, look this up, and that's one of the privileges that we have, being in a time when we can have access to information. Right? The scripture says that the in the last days that knowledge would be increased, and it's important for us to understand where we are. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, this information would have been very, very difficult to come about. So, I mean, I understand how how these ideas and festivals were, proliferated through Christian culture, and people who believe that they're serving and worshiping the Most High in ways that people who went before them, who were genuine, participated in. So for me, I'm not trying to attack any one person or pointing out any one group of persons, but as my pastor always like to say, don't assume that people know. So this here, take it or leave it, and please verify. Right. So this moon goddess is represented as in many different ways, in many sites that were excavated in the Middle East, and in Syria and in Babylonia. there are little figurines and statues that were found that represented this moon goddess as against a fertility god. So oftentimes she's represented with a baby, right, or pregnant, right, bare chested, and well, forgive my description, but oftentimes she'll have multiple breasts, right? And again, that goes back to the nature of the goddess, right, of fertility. Hence the rabbit represented in Easter now. Now, at the end of the day, this is something that was quite serious. As I said, the representation is mentioned in scripture as well, and it's something that caused the children of the Most High to fall into sin, because the festival, the ancient festival, was celebrated with orgies and sexual acts and things like that, where that would be performed to honor this fertility goddess. A very interesting point is that the Easter, which celebrates the beginning of spring, if you count from Easter, you get well, Easter is normally in March and April, so you get April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. That's 9 months, right? So 9 months after the celebration of the fertility goddess, which is celebrated, as I said, with all types of sexual conduct and so on. You have the Yule season, which is Yule means child, and that again shows how these ancient pagan festivals are also connected. Now, a lot of believers would say, well, they know this, but now they celebrate this to acknowledge Christ. And while that might be but while it might hold some weight, if we think about it like this, we in Trinidad and Tobago, we know what the festival of Diwali is, right? We light diyas and so on, and it is to pay homage to another god, a goddess, actually. Would it be okay, or would we be comfortable saying that we're going to light diyas, but we're lighting diyas to represent Jesus, seeing that he's in light of the world and all that type of stuff? Would we be comfortable doing that? And if you are, then I guess it's cool to probably celebrate Easter, which has nothing to do with Christ, but then to appropriate it in his name, right? That is one understanding. If you're not comfortable appropriating something like Diwali to celebrate Christ, then I think the same thing applies. I mentioned recently as well that the Most High was very particular about type of worship that he wanted, and he outlined that in the Old Testament for his followers to abide by, and not to participate in worship in the way that the other nations would do, right? So again, every person would have to give account for their own self, right? I would not have to answer for you, you wouldn't have to answer for me, but now as we have it, you won't be able to say that you don't know. All right, so Easter, carrying the same name that it did, is not mentioned in the Bible, except once in Acts, where you have a bad translation. Right, so again, this is something that we take note of, and as we seek to please Yah in the way that he required, I just thought is something that we should know and be guided accordingly. All right, so Continue to be safe, take care of yourself and each other, and until next time, yeah, willing, be blessed.